Hello there, world of tankers. I'm Blitz, and welcome to another of my videos. Today we are going over yet again another premium, this time being the T-34-3, the Chinese Tier 8 medium, fairly similar to the Type 59 in looks. Starting off, I'm going to tell you guys as a little disclaimer, I'm not going to be making a video on the WZ-112-2. I have already made a video on the tank. I'm not going to spend the time making another just because it takes a lot of time to make these videos, hours and hours, and it's really not worth my time just to make a video on the tank I already have a pretty strong opinion on. If you guys do want to see that video, I'll leave a link in the description down below, and I will have a little box so you can click at the end of this video like I normally do, leading you to that tank. So back to the facts. This is a pretty strong tank in my opinion. Mead C69 and Martin Dogger do not think so. They think it's a pretty poor tank and that it needs a lot of buffs to do better. However, I really think it's a pretty strong vehicle. Now you do need to know how to play these types of tanks. That is a forewarning. Because it's not the best tank for really doing anything. It does have a great gun, and it has this amazing aiming time, as you can see, that just is perfect. And that's why I really love this tank, is because I love snapping shots, and this is just the best vehicle to pretty much do it at tier 8 in. But the issue you saw already is that I was aiming flush at the front of that Black Prince, and the shell bounced, and it didn't even hit where I was aiming at. And that is the first big issue. Its dispersion is not the best. It's pretty much Russian accuracy as if you were running the normal IS, so that is one of the issues with it. But as you saw right there, this tank has a 400 alpha gun, which is just the best thing and my favorite thing about this tank. You saw right there I rolled that Black Prince for 440, but you can also see, again, as I'm aiming at that Cheery, the dispersion and accuracy on this tank is not the best. So you really can't trust this vehicle to save your life. You need to have a teammate around you when you run it pretty much all the time. Now, I'm a bit more skilled player, and I still have tough times running this vehicle. The frontal armor of this vehicle is pretty good. You can see the little top screen. I'll have a little armor clip showing you the armor, but I'll go over it as well. The armor in the front is 90 millimeters, and that is without angling. With the 120 degree angle which this tank has, it makes it about 150 degrees, which isn't that bad. Not to mention when angling it, it can probably get up to around 170, which isn't that bad at all. However, the turret is the big selling point for me. This turret is really ridiculously strong. It's stronger than pretty much any other tier 8 in the game in my opinion, because it's so round and it's so small. And recently the tiny little cupolas on it are even harder to penetrate because they buffed their armor about 30 millimeters from what they were. So they really did do this right on the armor, because it has a very strong armor profile. Not only that, I just love the look of this tank. As Skate Extreme said, this vehicle is just so gorgeous looking. The armor and the machine gun on the top of it just make it look so good compared to other vehicles at the tier. Like, the T-34-1776 is a pretty cool looking tank, but I find that vehicle really boring to run. This tank is really hard to get bored of because it has that amazing gun that has that 2.8 second aiming time, but yet this terrible dispersion, but it has a huge alpha of 400, so you really can punish tanks that don't think you'll penetrate them. Like this WZ-111 probably didn't think I was going to be able to penetrate him with AP, but I managed to slam that shell right into him, and the big selling point is that this tank is actually mobile. So unlike other vehicles, you're actually able to move this vehicle around quite easily, and again you can see that aiming time as I just snap that shell into him and back up, and he really can't do anything. Because now I have the mobility and I'm able to back up, miss him, and he really can't do anything, and he sacrificed his hit points because of that. Again, with the CDC thinking my reload's too long, slamming a shell right into him with that amazing aiming time. To give you a comparison of the gun, it's pretty much like getting a IS and then giving it a 2.8 second aiming time with the same dispersion. That's pretty much how this gun works. So it's pretty cool in my opinion. And since it is a 120mm round, it has a much easier time actually penetrating the sides of Russian vehicles other than the smaller calibers on like the T-34 lightweight. Now, the heat rounds, which are a big bonus on this vehicle, actually have a lot of penetration, being almost 275 standard, and I do run calibrated shells. I would suggest you do as well. With calibrated, it has 294mm of penetration, which is just ridiculous. You can pretty much penetrate anything in the game easily, even tier 10s. So, to be honest, I think that the amount of firepower and penetration this vehicle has really is a good compensation for the long reload. Because if your tank couldn't penetrate anything, it would really be a struggle to try and penetrate if you just didn't have that penetration. So you do have the heat round redeeming factor. Now I'll go over the second replay as well, but you can see I did get the mastery, 3,338 damage, which isn't bad. With premium, I would have earned 115,000 credits, as you can see, which is just ridiculous. This is a great credit earner, so that is one thing to keep in mind. Now I'll get stuck in the second replay, though. Now, a funny story about this vehicle is I was actually just running this tank for fun. I probably played about 50 to 100 games in it over the past week, and I had just been getting great games in it non-stop. And then Wargaming decided to buff it about a couple months ago with the last update, and they also just released it in the store. So I thought how perfect it was that I didn't even need to spend time trying to get a great replay for you guys, because this tank I had already been playing for the past week or so, getting some great games up already. And you'll be able to see just how well this tank can perform in the right situation. Again, I'll be pushing up right to the middle here, using this super strong turret armor. Going to back away, and he's going to bounce me right in the turret. Now, I will say that tank doesn't really have great penetration, but you will see some bigger rounds bounce off the front of this tank. And it's really good at doing that. Not to mention, hitting little cupolas and really hard shots are really easy to do with this tank. Now, unfortunately, that shell did not pen the T-34, but if I had fired a heat rounds, that 99% of the time would have penetrated. And again, you can see this just amazing aiming time. Immediately aims in, I'm able to snap the shell in the Tiger P and do 450 damage, which I do love. And the really nice thing is this tank does around 560 average damage with the high explosive, which is more than average. So I do like that. It can actually do a really big roll with high explosive, really hurting the tank you go against. This game we've already managed to pick up 1200 damage within the first minute. So either way, it's really good at that. And you can see there, I didn't even need to aim at the KV-3. I couldn't penetrate him anywhere with my AP, and I know that, so I load heat and just shoot him right in the front of the turret, and bam, it goes right through. And that's just one of the huge advantages with this gun. Another thing which I really, really love about this vehicle is it actually holds 100 rounds. Yeah, you heard me right, 100 rounds this tank can hold. Which sounds a bit ridiculous, but you can really easily hold as many heat rounds, high explosive, or AP you need. You're never going to have to worry about running out of ammo, which is just the best feeling in the game for me, because I'm a player who likes to shoot and just run all around the map, and I usually have to do 1 versus 4s, 1 versus 3s all the time, just like this game. And because of that, you always need to have a lot of ammo. So if I was up against a light tank at the end of the game and I needed high explosive, this would help me out so much because I can hold any type of ammo I need and plenty of it, which is just a huge bonus for this vehicle that I do love. And not to mention, they did recently buff the aiming time on this. I mean, not the aiming time, the reload, sorry for that. It's now a 13.5 second reload from the 14.5 it used to have, which is a much better thing. And it really helps out. Now, you may be wondering, why is my reload 11.3 seconds there? And that's just because I had my boost on. It'll be back to 13.6 now. But you can see I'm just demolishing the enemy lines. I've taken 0 damage so far because I've played the game really smart, and that's how you want to play this tank. This is the kind of tank where you're stuck up against 2 enemy vehicles, 3 enemy vehicles at the end of the game. And my best tip for running this vehicle is you want to conserve your hit points till the end, as you'll see here. Because once you conserve your hit points, you're able to trade shells with people at the end of the game, and pretty fairly too. because this T-34, he does have the 400 damage gun, but he only has 400 health left because he didn't conserve his hit points. So I'm able just to run right in front of him and slam a shell into him, not even worrying if he takes hit points off me. And the same with this T-34. So if you conserve your hit points, it really helps you out, because you can just push on any vehicles you like and afford to take hits from them and doing crazy amounts of damage back. Now, if you're wondering why I did spin around in a circle there, I'm bluffing. He does not know I'm coming up behind him, which is the point. Now, unfortunately, he does push over there. Now, I don't understand why this T-34 drove over the hill. I don't think he was expecting me to do as much damage as I did, because again, this tank can afford to trade shells with these bigger, more damaging guns, and better. As you can see here, that amazing aiming time, I'm able to actually snap a shell right into the top of that T-34, and he has pretty much been deemed useless now. And now there's a Sturmil, and I'm going to get my high explosive ready, which I have saved plenty of them for. As soon as I saw the T-34 go down, the Sturmil turned, and you can see immediately this high explosive does crazy damage, finishing that Sturmil. And now it is just me and a T-34. Now I am purposely pretending I'm going this way to trick the T-34 once again to run down behind him as he's trying to escape, purposely trying to make him run this way, and he falls right into the plan as I slam the shell into his side. And this game was 4,375 damage, and I only blocked 160, so the armor isn't ridiculous if you don't use it effectively. But as you saw, I played this game not in the camping, but I also played it fairly aggressive, and because of that, I was able to do 4,000 damage, which is just insane, pulling up the mastery, the high caliber, a bunch of rewards. Not to mention, I had 140,000 credits profit with premium, 93,000 without it, and I still managed to gain 54,000, which is just ridiculous. That is a crazy amount of credits earned by this tank. And you can see here again, this tank is just such a nice looking vehicle, and they don't even need to add attachments to it to make it look good. Now, finally, is this tank worth the price of 8,000 gold? Now, personally, I would say buy it now, buy it immediately, because it's just a bundle of joy, and it is really my favorite vehicle to run. However, if you are not a great medium player and you really don't know how to push too well, I wouldn't suggest to get it. If you're one of those players who wants to get a super overpowered tank and just bomb it through the enemy, this is not the tank you want to get. This vehicle will not really carry games for you. The games I showed you were 1 in 100. This tank really cannot perform well against any tank destroyers that can outdamage per minute. Its ammo rack is really easily blown up, which is one of the downfalls of it. And really, it's not the perfect vehicle for really doing any role except for stationary, sort of by the tank destroyers. So if you're a player who just wants to have a bunch of jolly fun, play this vehicle around, enjoy the game as it is, I really would suggest to buy it. It is completely worth it in my opinion. That's just my opinion though. Thanks for watching my video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Hey there guys, real quick before the video ends, I have just created a Patreon, and if you guys would like to check it out, I am trying to get some money to be able to afford to buy new tanks because I'm no longer spending my real money on the game. So if you guys want to help me out on making videos or buying new equipment, please check out the Patreon. I will leave a link down below. You can spend $2 a month, $3 a month, or $5 a month. Thank you, that's it.